I'm seeing in the chat, Rady, that your message, "the corners were not cut," is very reassuring, which is good. It sounds like for both of you, one of the big keys was that you were building off of a cultural foundation that you had already laid, and then really just finding ways to collaborate as tightly as possible across functions, breaking down these silos to make sure that everyone was on the same page at the same time, all the time. Um, did you find for either of you that your own personal style or instincts as a leader had to change in the middle of all of this as well?
Yeah, if you want, I can start on this one. Yeah, by all means. I think that particularly when your team immediately, one day you walk into the office and it's like, all right, pack up what you can, go home, don't know how long you're going to be gone or whatever, let's just figure it out. As a leader, I have a group of about 40 some odd people. My role kind of shifted from being, in the office, I'm there in my desk, anybody stopping in all the time, asking questions, that kind of dynamic suddenly disappeared. So what was going to replace it? And I found that my role largely became trying to be somewhat of the glue that kept this group feeling connected and connected to the mission and motivated while being apart. And it also required, a great deal of empathy. Everybody was dealing with this in a very scary time, and people were personally impacted by it with family members who were ill or family members who were at a great distance, and or their kids are suddenly home, or their nanny had to leave. Like there's so many different pressures on people. And so for me, one of the things that really shifted for me was that I started having we started weekly. We're now at bi-weekly group meetings with everybody that were not really so much agenda driven, but were just a way for us to connect and support one another. And I found that really turning to kind of my authentic, compassionate side was really necessary and was ended up being really important because my team they were already working at 110%. And then we were had to add on a new product and a new program and all of these other things. So the people were really stretched and everybody stepped up. I mean, we were almost more productive than we had been in the office. And I do think that it did require me to kind of change the way I would lead to make sure that people felt safe and supported and understood that the challenge, that there were some things that like, okay, if you can't make this meeting, like that's okay. Or if your kid pops in because they can't get onto their class Zoom thing, like go deal with that. That's okay. Like, so I think that that's an important part of my own personal leadership style that really, really came into play in this pandemic.
Well, I had to quickly shift to being, go from being one of those guys who never turned on his video to someone who was willing to turn on his video. So I got used to that pretty quickly. But Beth described it well. It reminds me just the cycles of the phases I guess we all went through because when this started, was it a week, was it 2 weeks, or when it was? And I think it was such a novelty in the beginning, and just kind of when you all kind of step back and realize what the heck we were all dealing with as a company, it really did take a different kind of way of just kind of staying in touch. And it wasn't really even that I changed my style. I think we all had to kind of change our approach and our style and develop a new rhythm once we realized we were in this for a relatively long haul. But nothing new habits and new routines. And I'm sure this is true for everybody in the audience and all their teams and their companies. Is no one's ever had to worry about people not working hard enough in this situation. We've all experienced the same thing where the days and nights and weeks just blurred together, and it was very easy to kind of lose control. And the big fear was people working too much. And how do you kind of adopt that kind of thing to stay focused, but really kind of sustain people through what they were dealing with as as a group and as a company, but also individually.